yeah, so this 5-day boot camp that I'm doing, I want to go over this method that I've been using in my own studio. Um, I've been basically using this method to plan my lessons every day, and this is just going to be level one of the method. There's 6 levels total, and so this is like assuming that the kid is coming blank slate, new student completely. Um, and so just a sort of a overview of the reasons. So my method, the whole reason I designed it is to appeal to a more modern student, and so in my head, this means like students that would rather learn a piece by YouTube piano tutorial, or you get a transfer student or someone who is just wants to play for fun or play some popular music, that kind of thing. And so I really want to try and make a method that was for them, and it's been working because I that's the only kind of student I teach, basically. So it works out. And then I say even coverage, as in there's a lot of methods out there that just they focus mostly on the reading aspects of playing piano, and everything else is supplemental. And I wanted to create a method that was a little bit more evenly approached. And so the third thing that I wanted to achieve with this method was um, concept relevance. In other words, I wanted to make sure that all of the concepts that I was teaching were taught in a category, you could say, that allowed the concept to be very practical. So that being said, I know I'm just kind of doing a big setup here. I'm not going to do this every day. This is just the first day that I'm going to do this, that I want to like set it up. And so now, how do you use this method in your studio? So I'm just going to go over how I use it personally, and how I would suggest for you to use it. And so right now, it's not a book; it's just concepts. And so what I do in my own lesson plans is I set it up. Usually my lessons go like this: review, play, new concept, bonus, bonus. And so we'll review an old concept that I think they need some help on. We'll focus for the play section of our lessons. We'll do whatever they want and however they want. And so if they want to learn you know, if they want to learn the crab rave from a YouTube piano tutorial, then sure, and we'll do that during the lesson. And then I'll introduce a new concept from this method, and then I leave 2 spots open for bonus activities depending on whatever they need or what they might want to do. But pretty much just that's how I incorporate it. And like I said, these are concepts that I'm introducing. I'm going to show you a way or two that I introduce it, but really the idea is that because it's just concepts, it's very flexible, and so you can teach it however you want. I'm not telling you how to teach, I'm just giving you some ideas on what to teach. And so and then you might notice with this method that some students forget things pretty easily, and so one of the things I do is I set semester goals. And so every like 3 or 4 months, I at the end of the month, I'll review all the concepts that we went over in the semester, for example, and give them a little quiz. So now, last thing I want to go over before we really like dive into the actual method is an overview of the categories that are in here. And so, as you'll notice as we go through. Well, actually, I think I want to send over something in the chat. Yeah, I'm going to send this over to you, and you can open this up. If I can figure out how to do this, let's see. Okay. Hopefully that comes through. If not, it's not super important, but so check your chat. It should come through. Yeah, good. Okay. And then this is the outline of level 1, and you'll notice on the left side of it it cycles through these three five categories for each unit. And then on the right side, it's really just for reference to. So the left side is how I teach it, the order that I teach it, and then the right side is the just for reference, so you see like how in each category how things are sort of paced or organized. Um, but really the left side is more what you're going to be focusing on. And so feel. I want to just really quickly go over what I mean by each of these. Feel is technique, but not technique as in scales and arpeggios, technique as in literally how do we move? How are you supposed to feel, play comfortably, or express things? And so physical comfort. Here is a lot of concepts with the goal of being able to play a song by ear. And so it's a little different from ear training because ear training is a lot of just like related exercises, but this is a little bit more, you could say, specific to learning by ear, learning pieces by ear. Read is generally what you already know, but the way that I do it, you'll notice it's a little bit slower pacing because it's not the center of attention in this method. And I also really liked the music tree method approach of introducing like one line at a time sort of thing. So intervallic reading, meaning it's a heavy focus on reading by, intervals. And then, yes, uh, I just wish it was faster, the music tree reading approach. But it's fine. Separate topic. And then how. A lot of concepts teach what to read, but they don't teach the how to read. And so I throw some of my concepts are about that. Now in the create section, you can think of it as practical theory. And so theory concepts, but in a fun way. And so it's through theory, through improvisation, through composing, through lead sheets, and all of that stuff. And then in the last section, play, the big focus here is eventually when I make a book out of this, it's going to be just like the fun pieces. So like I said, students, these are types of students that just love to go and learn YouTube tutorials. And you'll know YouTube tutorials, they can usually play they can play pieces that are like way harder than what you'd expect them to play. So that's the idea here. And so the concepts that I've included in this section are practice techniques. Because I noticed that with my own students, I noticed with my own students, they would constantly come back and either they or the parent would be like, I didn't really know how to practice this week. I didn't really know what to do. The lessons are always fun and we always do these crazy things, but then I got home and I just my mind was blank. So I make it a point in this method to proactively teach those practice concepts. So we're gonna get started, and I'm gonna do a little plug here before I get started, though. And working on these workshops and methods and all of that stuff, it takes a lot of time, and time is money, and I want to work on this stuff more. And so if you feel so generous, I set up a donations page on my website, and I'm just going to share that in the chat box. And that's the only business I'll do today, I promise. I'm going to go on for 30 minutes asking you to give me money. No, I'm just kidding. No, so day one. All right, so day one, unit one, level one. The very first thing that I would go over, and I want to say, though, that if... a lot, like I said, you might get some like transfer students. And so if you get a transfer student and they already know a lot of these things, then just skip it. It's fine. And I'm just assuming that you're getting a student that is completely blank slate, doesn't know anything. And now this particular concept is for if they are a young age. It's especially helpful if they're young age, and we go over the body parts, the geography, and the fingers. It's very important to address that. So obviously the body parts that are getting involved, knuckles, wrists, elbows, shoulders, and then you might even want to go over like torso, back, those kinds of things. And then it's honestly just fun. Like, you probably get some students that just want to investigate the piano. Let them. Let them just like look around, poke around. Hey, what's that? Oh, why doesn't this one have string? Why doesn't this one have strings? Why does that one have strings and this one doesn't? And just let them ask those questions. Let them be curious. And then this is something a little fun activity I learned when I was in my undergraduate degree. Quiz the teacher on fingers. So I need an example. Angela, do you want to turn your mic on?
Yeah. Hey.
Hi, you're going to be my test subject here.
Okay.
Um, so let's just do. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Okay. Oops. Hold on. How do I do this? Uh, okay. Well, I don't know if you guys can see Angela. If you go to the view and you change it to like gallery view, it should be easier to see her. But anyway, so this concept is basically goes like this about learning finger numbers. I find it fun to do this. Put your hands together. All right, and then we're gonna tap our ones. So tap your ones. Good. Tap your twos. Good. Tap your fives. All right. Now I want you to quiz me, Angela. You're gonna give me a number. I'm gonna tap that.
Okay. Tap your twos. Tap your fours. Ones. Fives. Wait, am I supposed to be checking you?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm just trying. Yeah, I think you did one wrong. I wasn't paying much. Okay. I'm gonna start over. Twos. Fives. Nope.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So and I'll do that with my students and have them
Fun.
play that little game with them. All right. So then I'll mute you back up here, and I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen. So that's that concept. Let's move on. Let's go to the next one. We're gonna go through 10 concepts today, and so I'm gonna be moving pretty quickly. And so the next thing that the next concept is in the hear category. And remember, this is like to learn by ear. And the very first thing I establish with my students is the difference between low sounds and high sounds, soft sounds and loud sounds. And we also do slides. And so just to help them understand that their voice is flexible, that they can go up and down. Now, I say the mix up because very often, especially younger students, will confuse low with soft and high with loud. And you can make a high sound that is soft, and you can make a low sound that is loud. And so what I do is I make them make sounds, and I help them to identify that. So like gallery view. Let's see. I don't know if I can make this bigger. I'm gonna call on Pete. If you don't want to be called on, then turn your camera off. um, so, all right, Tony.
Got it.
Okay. What sound does a cow make?
Moo.
Yeah, very good. So the way that what you just did was you just made a low and a soft sound, right? So that's going to be your low and soft sound.
All right.
Um, what sound does a let's see, what sound does an explosion make? Ah, that sounded really low and loud, right? Well, technically it was sort of like air, but that's okay. So let's find another sound. What about an well, do you I hesitate. So I might ask them like what do you think makes a low and soft sound, but the idea is that I'm going to try and draw it out of them. And so
I'm
um
hesitant to go too loud because everybody's got headphones on.
oh, that's okay. Yeah. So oh, you know what? I realize also I got to it's fine. So like, you draw the sounds out of them. What sound does what sound does a bird make?
Oh man, we're recording, right? Um, like a tweet, 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 tweet.
There you go. And I would say that that was high and a little bit on the louder side. You did it a little bit louder. So draw some sounds out of them, and That's the moral of the story. And then with the sirens, I like to do two separate vowels to establish going up and going down a little bit more clearly. So we'll go. Good job to you, Tony. You're a great participant. So, sirens, and you can just do this on your own. Ooh-wee, or yeah. And then you'll notice that the students like to go as quick as possible. Ooh-wee. They might do something like that, and so I encourage my students to take a little bit longer to do that. And then you might have noticed also when I did that, I used my hand to show going up and going down. You can do this with just sirens. You can do it with pitches. If you're singing a song, do, re, mi, re, do, whatever it is, right? Just show them generally how that it's going up and down. So the first read concept that I'd introduce is the hold on, I don't know if this is in the way, so I'm going to make this small again. 2 verse 3 black keys, and you're like, wait, what? You can't read black keys, but that's okay. It's going to be you're going to use a hand drawn diagram. I have a whiteboard that I love using, but you can do this on just like regular sheet paper. Like a blank piece of computer paper. So let's just do. Well, let me explain first. So, hand-drawn diagram. You draw the keys, and man, I'm getting a lot of. Okay, so my phone's going wild. So, and then you'll specify right hand, left hand, and then give the fingers that they need to use. You might use shapes. So let me just show you what this looks like. All right, so we're gonna make one together. Whoops, I muted myself. Okay, so, well, yeah, all right. So let's do, there we go, 2 black keys. Pardon my drawing skills. Okay. Ta-da! And then we're gonna go, this is gonna be left hand. And this is finger 1. No, sorry. This is finger 2. And this is finger 3. And then we're just going to go 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2. Then you're going to hold that one a little bit. And then, again, like I said, you can use shapes too if you want to. You can just like draw smiley faces to help show them that it's going down and up. And so on. So, and then this is like, again, remember the second part of this concept is to show them higher and lower too. So when you do draw these, you don't want to draw it like in a row. You don't want to draw the 3 here because then that just is confused. It doesn't show them that it's going up and down. So this one would go just like this. You set your hand up, left hand on these two black keys. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2. Ta-da! And you play a piece like that. And it doesn't have to be like amazing, especially if they're younger. They just want to play music, so just give them something to do. And so, back to this. All right, next concept, and where I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna try and leave some time at the end for some questions. So if you have questions, well, first of all, feel free to. Yeah, I see your question now. I was just going to say, or will you ask questions later? Yes, I will ask questions later. Well, I'll let you ask questions later. Although, I would say to that, Clinton, if you do have a question, feel free to put it in the chat, and then I will come back to it later, because like, I know how things are. I would forget my question, so if you're the type of person that's going to forget your question, you put it in the chat, and then we'll come back to it. So, simple scales. Now, this is the first create concept. And so the first create concept I do, and actually I did this with Tony's son, so that was fun. And so, simple scales. And so, what do I view as simple scales? It's the all black keys. That's a simple scale. White keys. Simple scale. And then whole step scale and half step scale are also pretty easy. And so, right, half step or chromatic scale, and the whole step scale is well, it's skipping a key, but I might introduce it just as like 3 white keys, 3 black keys, 3 white keys, 3 black keys, or 2 black keys, all the keys surrounding those black keys. Look at the shapes and present it that way. And honestly, like, to me, just on this topic, labels are not like super important, and so, at least not yet. And so, Tony, Tony's has a fun name for the whole tone scales, and he calls it let's get what is it? Remind me. Oh, red track,
Red
blue.
track.
Yeah, red track, blue track. And this is red track and blue track. So it's fun. But the point is, it's like, yeah, let them call it whatever it is. It's just a cool thing. And then now I say pedal optional because if they're old enough, if they're an older beginner, then it might be easier for them to throw this in. If they're younger, then I would say, if you have a pedal extender, then that's cool. Or if it's too much to think about, then it doesn't really matter. So, but I would say, pedal. I usually only use it for like the whole tone scale, and or if they are using white keys in like the upper register and the black keys. So black keys and whole are great with pedal. White keys, upper register only. And then now, do I just show them the scales? No, I show them. We play them, and then I ask them, how does it feel? So let's say Clinton. When I play this scale, like, and then I'm gonna play a second scale. What's the difference between those? How does one feel compared to the other? And this is I know a very vague question, open-ended question, but you can get more specific if they need it. So if you were to compare those two scales,
The first one, can you hear me okay?
yeah.
The first one sounded kind of dreamy.
Hmm.
And then the second one, I don't know, sounded like a carnival.
A carnival. Okay, so excellent. So then let's take that idea and let's move on to this next concept, which is all right. So let's find a way to use both of those scales, and we're gonna find a way to use both of those scales by creating a picture or a story or something like that. And so how can we get from dreamy to carnival? And so it's an easy one for me. I never got to go to the carnival when I was a kid, so I would dream about it. And so let's say I'm falling asleep. Now I'm in my dream, right? And then oh, that was a really short dream. I got woken up. Right? So, the story use the storytelling to have fun with those scales. So, next concept is play. And so, like I said, play in this category, the concepts that I want to go over are practice techniques. And the first thing I give to them, and if they're an older student, then they can usually handle this on their own. If they're a younger student, it's pretty much up to the parent to manage this. And so I do actually have the. Oh no! I must have X'd out of it. Oh well. Well, anyways, so I have a PDF for this if you want it, but this is my practice sheet for them. I have them get binders, and I put this in their binder, And I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see a little better. It's organized just like the method. I've got a feel, read, play, hear, and create, and I only fill in this as needed, and so we might not go over all the concepts, and I just tell them if I didn't write anything in the box this week, what does that mean? Go back to weeks before, practice something old, you know, and then I might fill out a number of times that I want them to practice that exercise, or a certain amount of time that I would like them to practice for. And then sometimes I need to break it down into steps, and so I put that in the mini goals. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's check boxes here in case they want to keep track of how often they did that activity. All right, and so, they might put, for example, the scales under create over here. And then under mini goals, you might put the whole tone, half step, white key, black key. So I did some practice with the whole tone scale this week. Check. On Monday. You get the idea. All right. Oops. Okay. And then, yeah, going on. All right. So, moving forward. So, day 1 today, unit 2. All right, we're getting hard now. So, the next thing that we go over in the feel category is steady beat. And notice, so far we haven't talked about that at all. Even when we drew in the read, I didn't talk about rhythm at all. It was just kind of like by ear. And then we can introduce basic rhythms too. And a lot of the stuff that Clinton, a lot of stuff you do is kind of like what I might do, or similar things in this step, which is like marching around. Although the difference, what I like to do first before we even listen to music is just walk. And so, because walking is, it's a natural way to do steady beat. Otherwise you trip and fall. So, I say marching, and so marching or chanting. And so on top of that, you might do something like this, which is dances. And so coordinating a dance, and that helps them to understand this concept that rhythm is relative. And so if they are, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to take this off. If they are, marching around, you could have them march, that's the beat, right? That's a steady beat. And then you can have them tap every other foot. Tap, and tap, and tap. And so that way they're seeing, I can have something be 1 beat while another thing is 2 beats, for example. And so, and really that's all about rhythm being relative. That's the most important thing that I try and get across. So then, now that's all without any music involved. That's just the rhythm alone. And then this is with music. And so you can put some music on the background, and so let's see. Well, this would be pretty hard to do through Zoom, but let's say, I was improvising something like this, Or you can just throw something on the radio, right? And the idea is, especially younger students can have a little bit of difficulty. Oh, did I turn on original sound? Let me see. I did. Okay, good. And so younger students can sometimes have difficulty hearing where the beat is, and so I'll have them just tap along. And you might need to tap with them at first to show them, to get them on the right track. Otherwise they might do something it's gonna be it's they might get off and not really be listening. So just listen and listen and move, and then don't worry about symbols. We'll do that later, like I said, and you might though do some things like counting like 1, 2, 1, 2, or 1, 1, 1. That might be down your alley too, just to get the different rhythms established. So, what next? Here. So this is one of my favorite things to do with my students. I call it jam style improv, and I've got this broken down into. This is one of the concepts that comes back later in the method a few times, and the ultimately the what we want out of this is something that basically it's like reading, it's playing chord progressions, but in a. I got this concept from when I played in a band, and so when I played in a band, I would just jam on the chord. It's not really like anything special. It's just kind of like filler, and so, but it's something that you also can use underneath a melody when you're reading a lead sheet. So like. That's Fight Song. And notice that underneath the melody, we had this jam style improv that I was just talking about. And so to get started with this, the first concept is doing that, but hands together. And I would throw in a metronome. And so, actually, let me throw that on right now. Where are you, metronome? So, let's do 80 beats per minute. And then, what's really important is that beat 1 is strong so that they know when to change. And so we go 1, 2, strong, weak, weak, weak. Okay, so we put the metronome on, and then we give them fixed pitches. So let's say every time you get a strong beat, we're gonna go C, and then on the next strong beat we're gonna go D, and then on the next strong beat we go E, and then the next strong beat we're gonna go back to D. And feel free to be trying this as we go along too. So you got to change on time. So we're gonna start very simple. Just make sure we change on time. 1, 2, ready. And so on, and you can keep it going. Then I would model 3 examples of hands together jam style improv. Hands together jam style improv is going to look like this, and you can do whatever rhythms you want as long as you change on time. And so I'll do, and then we can try back and forth. Yeah, let's circle back around to Angela. Because everyone else has their camera off, so I'm picking on you guys. So Angela, oh, you know what? This might be hard. Cause never mind. This will be hard because you can't follow my metronome because of the lag. Never mind. Thank you anyway. So all right. Well, I'll just show you what I do. So we're gonna do. Or I might do something a little bit more steady, right? Like a little bit more repetitive. Here's one example. Right? Okay, here's another example. And 2, wait for it. Okay, and then here's a third example. This time I'm gonna do 2 different things. 1, 2, 3. And then eventually you want to get them to a point. Now you try, right? And then you want to get them to a point where they're not even doing the same thing in every measure, that it's a little bit more freestyle and the rhythms are constantly shifting, something like this. Whatever. It's just a lot of fun. So, like I said, this is one of my favorite things to do. Now, let's move on. The next read concept. And this is, there's a lot of overlap here with the listening, really. And I will say, I'm going to preface a little disclaimer here. This is relatively new in my studio, and I am having a little bit of difficulty transitioning because our culture is so letter names are so heavily ingrained in our culture that it's a little bit hard to to transition students, but it is starting to work, and I am noticing some of my students are giving into it, which is good. So this is solfege. Basically, this is just letters, but it's singable letters, and so the whole reason I came up with this is because I hate singing C sharp. C sharp. I wanted something better to sing, easier to sing, and so this probably looks like a lot of math, and I'll just kind of go over it really quickly. It's easier if I just do it with you, and so all right, now Angela, let's now you can be my test subject.
Yeah, my interface stopped working, so I'm just gonna go through my webcam. It might be kind of loud though, but I'll try.
That's okay. Okay, so the idea here is it's like letters, but so instead of singing C D E F G, we're gonna use the sound of that letter and more the frontal sound of that letter. So if you have the option like C, you could do a sa or a ka, right? And so we're gonna do sa because ka is you use the back part of your mouth, and it can be really uncomfortable, and so we're gonna do sa da ya fa ja. Repeat after me. Ready, go.
Sa da ya fa ja.
Beautiful. There you go.
Hi. Okay. And it's ja, the last one. Ja, I was a little so ya and ja.
Ja,
Sa
yeah.
da ya fa ja.
Like
Okay.
G, so ja, yeah. And so now the next one, A. What do we do on A? And so I can't go right? And so and then it kind of gets even more convoluted when we start to do sharps and flats. And so I chose to add an L in front of it, la, just because it reminds me of the word alpha. So sa da ya fa ja la pa sa. And now if we have a C sharp or any sharp, you're going to change that to an A. Or if you need to do the diphthong A. And so instead of A. So like sa se da de ya fa fe ja je la le ba sa. For example, double sharp would be E, which is rare. Flat would be O. Sa ba bo la do ja jo fa mi. Sorry, fa ma ya. Again, with system. Fa ya. Ya yo da do sa. So that's doing O. And then U is double flat. And of course, just like we did with Angela, you can just start with a scale, just so that they really understand the concept, that it's an easy way to introduce the concept. But then, realistically, it's great to apply to actual songs they're playing. So if they're doing Mary Had a Little Lamb on white keys, it gets them to better connect what they're doing. It helps them to really see the difference between white and black keys, too, because then if they sing Fe, they know they're playing a black key. So let's say we're doing in D major. Let's say I wanted them to sing that. We'd go Fe ya da Fe ya da ya, fe ya fe la la. And so they really have to think about like, oh, is it a black key or a white key? That's the thing I love about that. And it's much easier to do than F sharp E D E F sharp F sharp F sharp. So, and then the big point here at this level especially is when you if you so I know this is very similar to like fixed do, and I know with fixed do in fixed do like books you'll see do re mi fa so written out. You don't have to do that with this system. You can just write letters, and when you go to sing it you sing the solfege. So you can write C D E, but when you go to sing those letters you'd go sa da ya. So next concept, create one note improv, another one of my favorite activities to do. And so this is literally, you choose one note on the piano. You cannot play any other note than that. You have to imagine that's the only note that you have on this piano available. Now, what does this do when we improvise on one note? It allows us to focus on the other elements. It allows us to focus on the rhythm and the spaces, like rests, dynamics, and articulation. And so usually I try to avoid doing this right away, giving them an emotion or a story prompt, and I want to see what they can do without me giving those prompts. So I'll leave it open-ended first and say, Shelly, do you have a keyboard next to you or not? Ah, okay. Oh, you know what? We can sing it. Okay, so do you want to do some singing?
Sure.
Okay, we're gonna sing on one note, and so, but you see how these are like this is a good example of like at the beginning I said these are just concepts. You can be flexible with them and do different things. So, hey, you're not near a piano. Let's do it. Let's approach it a different way, and so we're just gonna do on do. Can you sing that note? Is that in your?
If it's not too shrilly for you.
Yeah, it's a little bit high. Let's go a little bit lower. Do. Yeah, that's comfortable. Okay, and so we're gonna just do that one note, and I'll go first. I'm gonna make it really interesting. Do.
Am I supposed to copy you?
No, imitate. Good. I'll do a different one. Ready? There you go. And now I want you to try your own. Make that one note interesting. Excellent. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and then that was funny because there's like you were expecting more, and then there was that silence. Good.
Right.
Now, excellent. Round of applause. There we go. And so, and so now you can do this on the piano too. And this was just totally unprompted, other than just modeling. But you can also prompt with an emotion or a story, just like we did before. So I want you to play this one note in an angry way. And so it creates a loud sound and some heavy, long sounds. You can also, what I love doing with my students to really force them to think outside the box is I do this 1 minute challenge. I say, all right, you have to play this note for 1 minute, but the challenge is you have to make me not bored. If I get bored, you lose. So, they really enjoy that. Even though obviously it's very subjective saying that, but yeah. Okay, so play starting spots, and so this is this the last concept? Yeah, this is the last concept for today, and then we'll do some questions. And so again, practice strategy here, and this is something that we know is obvious, This is something we teach our students all the time, most of us. But again, it's great to really directly address it, to make it a point, to be like, this is a concept we need to go over. And so, which is basically don't start at the beginning all the time. And so, sometimes you don't, and that's a trap that a lot of students fall into, right? Sorry. Okay, that was good. Let me start at the beginning again. Practice that. And every time they start from the beginning. And so, internet connection is unstable. Well, let me know if I conk out. But important to, obviously, and I'm sure you all know this, important to start not at the beginning sometimes. And so, what does this do? It helps the student fix problem spots that they're having, directly address those. But something else it does, it doesn't have to be just problem spots that they start from. It can be spots that they're already comfortable with, because when you do that, you're preventing it from becoming a problem, and especially like. If you do start from the beginning a whole bunch, then what's going to happen? The beginning is going to be amazing, and then you get like halfway through and things start to fall apart. And so the other thing that this really helps with is memorizing a piece. Because if you always start from the beginning, you can really, motor memory can really kick in, and you can usually get through the whole piece without thinking about it. If you force yourself to start at random spots in the piece, then you really have to think about, okay, where am I? What letter is this? What's the chord progression here? These kinds of things. So it really helps with your memory overall. So, with all that being said, I knew today was going to be a little easier because we were getting through like some of the simpler concepts, so it's going to take a little less time to do. And so that leaves plenty of time for questions. I see we got the chat going here. All right, so let me read through this. I love the music tree reading approach. Yes, me too. Question. Okay, red track, blue track. Yes. All right, question. Play for Unit 1 is the practice chart. Is on the practice chart? Oh, wait. Play for Unit 1 is the practice chart. Oh, but it's also on the practice chart. Yes. So what exactly is play? Is it just doing the other things, feel, hear, create, etc.? Yeah, okay, so good question. So in my lesson plans, well, let me explain this a different way. So yeah, in the practice chart it's play. And for play, in the practice chart, I usually put whatever the main piece they're working on in the play section, like the challenge piece, the fun piece, whatever you want to call it. But in the method, play means something a little bit different. This is where, so when I actually make the book, when I make a book for this concept, the play is going to be it's going to be the fun challenge pieces, and so that's what I would put in the practice plan. But in the book, also in that play section, it's not just going to be the challenge pieces, but it's going to be these practice concepts. And so you could put the practice concepts in the play category of that of the practice chart. It's really subjective, honestly. The practice chart, it's just a way to organize the assignments that I'm giving to them. So long story short, in the play category of the practice chart, I put the main piece they're working on, and then I might give them some other assignments there. Yeah. So Angela asked, are you regularly cycling? Actually, I can close this. So are you regularly cycling through the 5 areas in this order, but not necessarily all 5 at each lesson? And are you also mixing songs they want to learn at this point too, or would that come later? Yeah, so I said this at the beginning, maybe I didn't say it clearly enough, and that's okay. So it's a good question. So how do I incorporate this into my lesson? No, I don't do. I used to. I used to do all 5 concepts in one lesson, and I realized that was like really overwhelming, and they weren't remembering anything, and then it also was like we didn't really get a chance much to do the pieces they were working on. I would try to like manipulate these concepts in a way that would allow me to directly address the main piece they were working on, you could say, but I couldn't always do it. And so now what I do is I review a concept, I work on their, you could say, main piece that they want to work on. I add a new concept, and then I have plenty of time for anything else I need to cover in the lesson. So 2 bonus activities. Um, mhm. And mixing and song, yes, yeah, okay. So that's the question, yeah. And so giving into it. What did I say? What was giving into it? I don't remember that. Anyways, so Clinton, you said Unit 2, read, Safed. Why is that reading? Are students seeing something on the page, then saying and singing that out loud? What are they reading? Yeah, so think of it more like reading, it's sight singing. And so that's why I said it's sort of like ear training and reading. It's a little bit more like sight singing. And so, like, you know, even if I just give them, if we're doing, let me get a book here, hold on.
But it's reading something on. But it's reading something on the page. Because what you did
Yes.
with us wasn't reading. It was just like here, sing these syllables.
Yeah, sorry. So
Okay.
let me clarify that. And so, like, you could do. So. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. I want to clear this. Clear. And so, I mean, you can do this all the way through. Like, if you had like a book, like if you were learning a piece out of a book or something, you could just read this in solfege. And so, instead of going C G G C D E, you just do solfege. Sa ja ja sa da ya sa da ja ja, and so forth. And of course, like since they're just getting started with it, it would probably be easier if they're reading it and playing it at the same time. Sa ja ja sa, wow, I'm surprised I sang that in the right pitch. I was a little sharp, but it's still. Hey, solfege works. And so, okay, so you could also, when you're just getting started, it could be off-staff notation too. So if you just want to give them letters, for example, C, G, G, C, or then you could just write the letters and have them read that, but also while they're reading it, they sing it. So sa ja ja sa. So it is reading. The whole point of it is to transfer their reading to their voice. I guess you could think of it that way. Yeah. Okay. So we lost you for a minute, but now you're back. Oh, when was this? Okay. Well,
That was a while ago.
Oh, that was when you said your internet connection was unstable. I just want you to know that you were back.
okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Good.
Long time ago.
Okay, sorry, I was a minute late transitioning. Oh yeah, no worries. So I missed that. Oh yeah, you're fine. All right, what piece would they be working on in Unit 1? Something not in your book and method? Yeah, so right now, Eventually, my plan, I'm going to be writing a book where there is an actual piece to learn for every concept. But right now, really, these concepts are, th- I use them a little bit more like activities to do in the lesson. And so the piece that we'd be working on is like separate. And so no, and so all of these concepts are designed to help them with that piece. And you might even, with a lot of these concepts, like I said, back in the day when I was doing five concepts at once, I would try to connect all of these concepts to the piece that they were working on. So these concepts are flexible. So most of these concepts you can, even though you introduce it as a separate exercise, you can always somehow bring it back to what they're working on. Solfege, for example, like the work Katy Perry, if we're working on fight song, uh, ya da sa sa sa, ya da, right? So just bring it back in. Or what was another concept we went over today? I'm just gonna go to random one. So one note improv. Okay, maybe not improv, but let's just play that one note on the rhythms of the piece. And make it interesting. How can we make the rhythms interesting of fight song on one note? So you can always like mix in whatever they're learning into these concepts. So yeah, Tony, what's your question?
Let's see. Oh, I'm already unmuted. So I was just when you were talking before about introducing this the altered solfege system. You used the word. You said I had a little trouble at first, but now they're giving into it, which I can.
Yeah.
I was just curious. So, were you using like traditional solfege syllables with these students, and then now you're teaching this? Or are they getting this? What was their basis for comparison prior to this? And follow-up question, are you noticing that students who you're getting now that have a clean slate and don't have, they're not up against their comparative mind, are they having an easier time with it than kids who might be trying to move over to this from something else?
Yeah, blank slate students are definitely way easier to convince. Um, but I will say still, blank slate students sometimes have other musical experience. Still, like they might be taking music classes at school, and because they are singing letters, and I do want to clarify, it's not exactly solfege. It's like because the solfege, it's not like so. There's fixed do and there's movable do, and I do something else for the movable do idea. This is more of just like letters, and so these kids are coming. If they come and learn like letters, if they're singing letters in music class, C D E, then they come to me and they're like, "Wait, why don't I just sing C D E?" And I'm like, "Because my way's better." And so, so if they're really blank slate, then yes, I don't have resistance. It's much easier to teach them this idea. But because of the way the culture is right now, the common practice is, that's the only reason it's a little bit more difficult. But I would say even though there is that issue, I would also say that none of my students have any problem grasping the concept, and so it's super easy for them to like they get it like that. The second I say, all right, we're gonna do this way. It's very easy to understand, and they can do it. So resistance, but I'm hopeful that with time, culture will be more accepting of this, and this is why I'm doing things like this. I want to spread the word about these newer ideas.
Or like you said, they give into it after a while. That's
Yeah,
not going to stop. He's going to pull this out every time.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
want to move on.
yeah. Hey, awesome! Really good questions. And I think that about wraps up. That wraps it up. So, um, thanks everyone for coming, and hopefully some of you guys come back at some other points during the week. Tell your friends. I'd love to for everyone to see what I've got going on with this method. All right. So hopefully I'll see some of you tomorrow.
I have another
Great.
question.
Oh,
If
yeah.
if you have a second, I have another question, but
Yeah. What's up?
everybody can go or stay. Actually, I'm not sure what the question is. Let me talk it out. So in the first unit and the read, and you drew like the black keys, and then okay, we're gonna play 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, or whatever. Is that like something that will be in your book, like we see in method books, or you're saying like you just do that on your whiteboard with your student for for their piece or whatever?
Yeah, that'll be in my method book. It's going to be notated that way.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah, that's cool. At first I thought maybe like your method was, just a method, which is great. We think of a method as like, oh, it's a book that you go through, but a method could just be a process or a philosophy, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, yeah, and eventually, like I said, I do want to I want to make a book. I want to make a book that I want to have a piece to learn for each of these concepts. But, it's more important to me that there are concepts. um, you know, I think a lot of the methods that exist are more so just like more things to play with and not very important
yeah,
concepts, I guess you could say. Um,
yeah.
and so my mentality was concepts first, pieces second.
Yeah, and I've always had this idea. Maybe if you like it, you can steal it because I'm not writing a book. But as far as like practicing, normally the student has their book with their piece, and then we're trying to get them to practice a certain way, like just play this part and then just play this part. And I thought, how great would it be if those steps were actually in the book? So like on this page, it's literally just the right hand for one measure.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, wow, I got it. So then they go to the next page and it's like the left hand for that one measure. And then they go to the next page and it's both combined, or it's like tapping the rhythm or something. So in
Well,
other words, like all the steps actually like spoon fed.
you'll see that that's actually that's some of the concepts in my play section.
Yay! It's
Yeah,
so good.
yeah,
Like somebody should do that. So I'm glad you are.
yeah. Mhm. Well, thank you. All right, cool. Well, we'll see you tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris.
All right, bye bye.